Hi, I'm Carolyn Honia, owner and lead lactation consultant at Lake Norman Breastfeeding Solutions in Davidson, North Carolina. We're getting close to Christmas, and every year we notice that we get less calls right before Christmas as women are busy preparing for the holidays. Even right now, you might be in the middle of Christmas shopping, gift wrapping, event planning if you're having family in town or if you're traveling, getting ready for those, and probably a lot of extra activities and functions going on right now. So we get less calls this time of year as women are busy trying to not only care for their baby like they do every day, but add in all the holiday activities. But then after the holidays, early in January, we often get a real uptick in calls. And these calls are women reporting things that came up over the holidays, really as a result of all of the activities and events of the holidays. We get more calls at that point for low milk supply, for plugged ducts and mastitis, for babies on nursing strikes, or babies that have started to prefer the bottle. So I want to pass on some tips to help avoid all that and just to make it easier to take care of your baby during the holidays. My first tip is to nurse on the go. Nursing in public is almost essential to breastfeeding success. I find that women who get comfortable with and practiced at breastfeeding in public are much more likely to reach their breastfeeding goals. The reason for that is when you're out and about, if you would normally be nursing when you're home, but you're out and about and instead you give your baby a bottle, what happens is that within your breast, the milk that had built up, that was ready and prepared for that breastfeed, ends up sitting there longer and probably continues to build up. Well, that signals your body to decrease your milk production. Your body thinks that that delayed or missed feed means that milk wasn't needed, and it interprets that as a signal to lower your milk supply. It also puts you at risk for mastitis and plugged ducts anytime that your milk builds up enough that inflammation and swelling starts. So to offset those risks, we really want you to get used to nursing on the go and nursing in public wherever you are. It's really not that difficult once you get the hang of it. Now with my first baby, I was nervous. I tend to be a kind of a modest person. I don't usually like to show off a lot of skin when I'm in public. And so for me, when I was nursing a newborn, I like to use a cover. And these are my favorite. These are covers that have a hoop and an apron. The reason I liked this is it lets me see my baby when they're really young and I'm trying to help them with a latch. I can see what I'm doing. I can view baby. I can help them get that good deep latch, but nobody else can see. So this hoop right here is what lets me see the baby, which is really important. It also lets some heat come out so baby's not getting as hot. And then this loop around my neck keeps it from falling off, which is wonderful because babies tend to kick and yank and it just falls off. If you're just using a baby blanket, it's almost for sure gonna fall off you at some point, probably when you least want it to, when you're trying to help them latch. So if you are uncomfortable with nursing in public, get yourself one of these hoops. They're on Amazon. They're at Targets in the pumping and breastfeeding aisle. However, if your baby is already self-latching or if you're just not that worried about it, just be sure that your shirt is loose enough that you can pick it up so that baby can latch. As babies get older, they can self-latch. You don't really even have to see what you're doing. Barely any skin is visible by that point. You're just lifting your shirt and they're popping on. If you haven't gotten there yet, don't worry, you'll get there eventually. Most babies are able to self-latch by the time they're about 2 months old, even when you're sitting upright like this. You can also consider getting a nursing camisole like this one. And this is something you could wear underneath your other normal kind of clothes, your shirts, your sweaters. And that way your tummy stays covered when you lift up your shirt to breastfeed. And that just gives you more coverage on the bottom, which is nice. So try to get used to nursing on the go, nursing in public, nursing around your family. It's normal to be nervous at first when you're new to breastfeeding, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get with it. And so will everyone else around you. It's important for breastfeeding to be normalized in our culture for all ages, men and women. We all need to adapt and get used to breastfeeding. It's just a normal process of taking care of our babies. And you're helping to make that change in our culture by breastfeeding wherever you are. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is to keep an eye on your baby's normal feeding patterns. When you're getting ready to go out shopping or to a holiday gathering, be aware of whatever your baby would normally do in that time frame as far as feeding goes, and be prepared to take initiative to feed your baby around that time. A lot of babies, when they're out in public or when they're being passed around with relatives, aren't going to show the normal feeding cues that they show when they're just at home with you in a safe and comfortable environment. Your baby may be overstimulated and might shut down, or just might be too distracted. So take initiative to nurse your baby whenever he or she would normally breastfeed. Not only does this protect your baby's growth, but again, it's going to protect your milk supply. Missed or delayed feeds are the bane of milk supply. And again, one of the most common calls we get after the holidays is a lowered milk supply because too many feeds were missed or delayed. So take initiative to nurse your baby. If your baby is older and super distracted, you might have to find a quiet room or go to a dressing room if you're out shopping, or nursing mother's room. But if your baby's younger, they probably won't mind too much. Whatever's going on around them, they start to get super distracted about 4 months of age. So that was tip number 2. Keep an eye on your baby's normal feeding patterns. Nurse them whenever they usually would nurse, and take initiative. Tip number 3 is to make use of a baby carrier or a wrap. When you're out and about, if you are wearing your baby like in an ergo or a sling or a wrap or a katan, your baby is nestled up against you, and this helps protect your baby from being passed around and being exposed to all the germs that are surely going around, the cousins, the little ones, all the people at the mall. So it provides some protection just by the fact that the baby's nestled into that carrier right there. Less people are going to get up into her face because they'll be getting into your face then as well. So there's usually a little bit more distance. So that's great for protecting baby from the germs. It keeps baby really nicely bonded and attached to you, so she's less likely to get overstimulated or kind of shut down herself. She can take some nice good naps while she's snuggled in with you. And then it frees your hands up. If you've got a carrier that baby is secure in, then you are able to multitask, which is huge. So you can still cook and clean and shop and prepare and do most of the things you would normally do when you've got baby nestled in. And we know multitasking is really important in this time of year especially. Just be sure you're also taking time to rest as well. And then my 3rd tip is more of a fun one. It's enjoy alcohol in moderation. When you are breastfeeding, you can have 1 drink per day without thinking twice about it. You don't have to pump and dump. You don't have to space out your feeds. If it's just 1 beverage per day, a normal serving size, then you can have it anytime you want without thinking twice about it. If you're going to exceed more than 1 drink, maybe it's a special occasion and you're wanting to have that glass of champagne and then a glass of wine with dinner or what have you, then we recommend just waiting to breastfeed again until you no longer feel the effects of alcohol. Alcohol naturally leaves your milk at the same rate it leaves your bloodstream. So if you are no longer feeling the effects of alcohol, if that buzz has worn off, then it's also left your milk and you can safely breastfeed or pump at that time. The only time you would ever pump and dump is if you drank a lot and therefore had to wait a while for it to wear off. And meanwhile, it was the time your baby would normally breastfeed or you would pump, then you may need to pump just to preserve your milk supply and help protect against mastitis. That milk you pump, you wouldn't want to feed your baby, but you could use for other purposes, like maybe a milk bath. But if you've just had 1 beverage, you can breastfeed while you're drinking it, after you're drinking it, anytime, without second thought. The amount of alcohol that's in your milk after just 1 alcoholic drink is the same amount of alcohol in orange juice. Yes, just plain orange juice actually has natural occurring alcohol in it. And studies have found that that same natural amount of alcohol in orange juice is the same minute, tiny amount of alcohol in your breast milk after just 1 drink. So go ahead and enjoy 1 drink per day. Don't think twice about it. You deserve it. Enjoy that baby this season. I know it's hectic, but it is such a special time of year, and we never get this time back with our little ones again. So soak it up as best you can, but take care of yourself and take care of your baby. You do not need to say yes to any outside commitments, events, anything that would push you over the edge, that would make it so that you can't get the rest you need, because your baby needs you. Your baby needs you to be your best self, and all the other adults in your life can hold off and wait for you, because really it's you and baby that matter. So those are my tips for this time. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping to start making videos more regularly, and that will encourage me to keep going.